Hey guys, Bartel's Bookshelf here with a different kind of bookshelf tour video. Um, my husband Aaron doesn't read much, but we were looking through some book boxes in the crawl space, and we found Aaron's box of books, and he thought it might be interesting if I went through them and talked about them. So this is that. I have no idea if any of you will find this interesting, but considering how much people love Michael K. Vaughan's Books That Time Forgot series, maybe you'll like this too. As I said, Aaron doesn't read much, but he does have a few books and some DVDs here that I think I could talk about, so I'm gonna do that. The first book here is A Slow Death, 83 Days of Radiation Sickness by the NHK-TV Tokai Mura Criticality Accident Crew. I talked about this for Juan at Plagued by Vision's Disturbing Books collab, but just to give you a brief summary, this is a nonfiction account of the horrible nuclear radiation accident that took place in 1999 that affected... one of the workers was exposed to extreme levels of neutron beams. His name was Hisashi Uchi, and this book is basically just a chronicle of his slow death, as the title puts it, and it's very disturbing, very sobering, a very sobering account of radiation sickness, very unflinching, really fascinating, but not for the faint of heart. Here we've got some. This is Smashed by Junji Ito. This is one of his story collections. I think we have some other ones, but I'm not sure. I'd have to look around. But this is the one that we have here, Smashed. This has 13 stories in it. Anyone that I remember? Yeah, there's some Suichi stories and things like that. Smashed is a great story. I mean, if you're into horror manga, you know Junji Ito. He's a household name. He's made a lot of great things like Uzumaki, Gyo, lots of wild, crazy, creepy, disturbing stories. His art style is beautifully detailed. I mean, just on the first page here, look at this this vampire bat creature. Isn't that awesome? Just the textures and the oozing matter. I don't know, it's great. So yeah, that's Smashed by Junji Ito. Next here we have the Ubu Plays by Alfred Jarry, translated by Cyril Connolly and Simon Watson Taylor. This is a compilation of 3 French surrealist plays by Alfred Jarry: Ubu Rex, Ubu Cuckolded, and Ubu Chained. How do I describe this? So Alfred Jarry was a young, sort of a very decadent, libertine playwright who wrote these plays that were sort of Dadaist, surreal, weird sort of parodies of life. Ubu is a king who is manipulated into trying to take over the kingdom by his shrewish wife. It's very it's very vulgar. It's very intentionally shocking. It's very silly. It's very strange. It's one of Aaron's favorites. There's a French film of it that was made in the '60s that he really enjoys. Yeah, it's I don't know how to describe it, but that's that. It's very bizarre, very interesting. Next here we have Empress Theresa by Norman Bhuton. So, if you don't know the story, this was a self-published novel in 2014, I believe, about this young teenage girl who develops magical powers and basically becomes God. And she's essentially like the world's biggest Mary Sue. And the book is this weird, incompetently written power fantasy, sort of a so bad it's good kind of thing. I mean, that cover pretty much tells you all you need to know, right? But yeah, there's a whole story behind this, and the author. There's a really, really interesting video from Erik Knudsen from Under the Rabbit Hole about this book and the history of it and its author. I haven't actually read this, but I've seen like synopses for the book and stuff, and it's got such like a crazy reputation that Aaron wanted to buy it, and he was talking about sending it off to Norman to see if he could get it signed, but I don't know if that'll happen. So yeah, I haven't read this, but obviously I know it based on reputation, so I mean, who knows? I might read it at some point. We'll see. Next we have Welsh. Teach Yourself Welsh, a complete course for beginners. Not much to say about this except that Aaron bought this because he's been trying to teach himself Welsh. His family, he has some Welsh family, some Welsh heritage, so he's been trying to teach himself a bit of Welsh. He speaks a little bit of Dutch, but Welsh is something he's trying to improve on, so that's why he has this. Welsh is a very interesting language. I have a hard time understanding it myself, but he seems to be doing okay. But so yeah, that's that. This is a DNA Failure from British Weapon Comics. So this is we found this randomly at a half price, and we were very shocked because this is actually very rare and hard to find. So if any of you are familiar with the internet series Bart the General, this is a comic, and I think there's some prose stories in here from the collective that made those, Gehiksik 2, Famicon, all that, So this has that same brand of sort of surreal humor. I mean, you can kind of tell just from the cover there, but this is full of really strange comics, and it's got sort of a very grungy, punky zine vibe, I guess. One of the stories that Aaron tells me about all the time is, this one with this, like, grumpy teenager who like, doesn't want to be a knight. Stuff like that. It's very, and there's the back. Yeah, so it's very surreal and interesting. Yeah, there's some, like, prose stories in there. And you can see it's got that, like, heavily photocopied vibe. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I would recommend checking out Gehiksik 2, all of those people. Famicon, Bank, all those people. So yeah, that's DNA Failure. I've talked about this before, I think. This was on my my bookshelf tour. This is technically my book because I bought it, but Aaron really wanted to read it. He's actually supposed to be reading it, but this is Nothing to Envy, Ordinary Lives in North Korea by Barbara Demick. This was a National Book Award finalist. It's a nonfiction account of a bunch of different families in North Korea. As it says, Ordinary Lives in North Korea, and it's a fascinating read. There's so much stuff about sort of the daily life of living under the regime, sort of cultural attitudes towards different things, the way people are raised, the difficulty of getting refugees out of the country. It's a fascinating book. I highly recommend it. She has another book called Eat the Buddha that's about Tibet, I believe, that sounds really interesting. I'd like to read that at some point, but this is a great book. I highly recommend that. Oh, this is cool. So Aaron reads a lot of comics, more than I do. I read comics, but I'm not as prolific as he is. I don't read as much as he does, but this is a really cool one. This is the graphic novel adaptation of Clive Barker's story Rawhead Rex. This was adapted by Steve Niles with art by Les Edwards and Hector Gomez. I believe this was part of the Tapping the Vein series that adapted a bunch of Barker's stories. But yeah, obviously this is Rawhead Rex, which is a classic monster story, and it adapts the story very faithfully. The art is beautiful and savage. I mean, there's Rawhead there, looking like a shriveled up dick as intended, unlike the movie, crushing some dude's head. So yeah, the graphic novel maintains all the violence and the savagery and the poetry of Barker's text. And I believe this also adapts another story of his, Twilight at the Towers, which is about like werewolves and spies and stuff. There's a bit of that. So yeah, this is a really cool graphic novel adaptation, and actually we discovered recently that this is incredibly rare and collectible. We thought we had lost it because we had given it to a friend, and it took a while for us to get it back, so we didn't realize that we thought it was gone basically, and we were okay with that until we looked it up and we were going to buy a new copy, and Aaron said he found one that was like $300. How much was that Rawhead Rex comic that you looked up?
The cheapest I could find was $300, and it was all torn up.
Yeah, the cheapest he could find was $300, and it was torn to shreds. So, I mean, this is a little bit beat up, but in comparison,
well read.
Yeah, it's. So yeah, that's awesome, and we'll definitely be hanging on to that. So, More comics. This is the graphic novel Batman Judge Dredd Judgment on Gotham by Alan Grant, John Wagner, and Simon Bisley. This is obviously a crossover between Batman and Judge Dredd, with art by Simon Bisley, who's known for his very crazy, exaggerated forms. I haven't read this, but Aaron has, and he's told me about it, and it looks really cool, and it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff involving Judge Death and the Joker. There's Mean Machine Angel there. As you can see from the Simon Bisley's art, like I said, it's very, very exaggerated, very detailed and hyper masculine, I guess you'd say. It seems very interesting. There's a scene where Judge Death takes over a dead body so that he can have a form in Gotham and stuff. There's a lot of conflict between Batman and Judge Dredd because of their conflicting philosophies. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Again, more comics. This is my friend Josh gave this to us. I haven't read this yet, but this is Justice, written by Jim Kruger, Doug Braithwaite, and with art by Alex Ross. This is a huge 12-issue, I believe it's 12-issue maxi series about the Justice League going up against the Injustice Society, or what is it? What do they call it? The Legion of Doom. I haven't read this, but have you read this, Aaron? Justice?
Yeah, I finished it.
Oh, you finished it? Did you like it?
Oh yeah, I love it.
Okay, well, Aaron says it's good, so I'll have to check it out at some point. So it's Alex Ross, so I'm sure, at least from an artistic standpoint, it'll be great. Let me see if I can find some good stuff to show you. There's Wonder Woman fighting Cheetah. So, yeah, very obviously Alex Ross, highly respected painter, comic book artist, known for his realistic portraits and things. So, I look forward to getting into that at some point. I have read another miniseries that was illustrated by Alex Ross. That was Marvels, written by Kurt Busiek, and I loved that. That was great. So I look forward to this at some point. Here we go. This is a biography. This is The Musical World of Halim Eldab by Denise A. Seachrist. Aaron is an experimental musician, and he's fascinated with the world of experimental music. And this guy, Halim Eldab, is one of sort of the forefathers. He's a very important figure in 20th century experimental music. He was an Egyptian composer. He studied with all kinds of 20th century musical giants. Like it says here, Leopold Stokowski, Irving Vine, Leonard Bernstein, and Aaron Copland. His compositions have been performed at the Metropolitan Opera House, the Cairo Opera House, and the Edinburgh Festival. So yeah, he's a very important seminal figure in 20th century music. And Aaron was interested to sort of learn more about him. So we've got this book. I don't know if Aaron's read it yet. Have you read this Halim Eldab book yet?
I flicked through bits of it. I need to sit down and read it.
Okay. He says he's flicked through it. But yeah, the cool thing about this is that it comes with a CD of a bunch of his compositions. So that's kind of cool. You read about him and then you can listen to his music. So yeah. This one is very important to Aaron. This is Stop Motion Craft Skills for Model Animation by Susannah Shaw. So in addition to music, Aaron loves stop motion animation. He does a lot of it as a hobby. He used to teach children animation in schools and things. And this was sort of his Bible for a long time. This is really old. This is from
2004.
Okay.
I think I had it.
2004. So. And it's been with him all this time. It's where he learned a lot of the stuff that he, a lot of the techniques he uses these days for animation. Obviously, this is outdated now because it talks about like webcams and things like that, that aren't applicable really. But still, the techniques, from what Aaron tells me, are very useful. So. And yeah, as you can see, it's well loved. It's very beat up. It's falling apart. But again, we found out that this was collectible, so he's got to hang on to this, especially because it has so much sentimental value. But more comics. Aaron reads a lot of comics, like I said. So this is Deceased by... Who wrote this? A lot of people worked on it. So this is Deceased by Tom Taylor, Trevor Hairsine, Stefano Gaudiano, and Rain Barreto. This is sort of DC's answer to Marvel Zombies, I guess. It's DC Zombies, as you can see, with Batman there on the cover. I haven't read this, but you've read this, right, Aaron? Deceased?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, well, there you go. He says it's brilliant. Aaron loves his superheroes, and he loves his zombie stories, so there you go. Best of both worlds. I have no idea, but he says it's good, so I'll have to look into it. A bunch of Mask comics here. There's the first, what is this? 1, 2... Yeah, this is the first 5 issues and issue 0 of the original Mask series. There's issue 0, 1, 2, is that 2? Yeah, 2, issue 3, and issue 4. So obviously, if you're into comics or the history of the Mask or whatever, you know that the comics are very, very different from the movie. It's the same basic concept, but it's a lot more graphic, a lot more violent, a lot darker, a little more twisted. But they're a lot of fun. They're very cartoony. They're very crazy and over the top. And Doug Mankey's artwork is great. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, very, very dynamic, very colorful, very crazy and cartoony. Good stuff. So yeah, and this is the Mask Omnibus Volume 2. We had Volume 1 somewhere, but someone took it, I think. And again, we would buy a copy, but again, it's very rare and very collectible, very difficult to find. But we still have Volume 2, and we have these first 5 issues here. So
it's somewhere in Texas with that dick.
Yeah, somewhere in Texas, as far as we know. So, but there's the Mask Omnibus and the first 5 comics. I guess I'll go through the DVDs now. So there's a small collection of DVDs in here. These first 2, this is the Cameraman's Revenge and Other Fantastic Tales, and The Magic World of Ladislas Stervich. These are both collections of short films by the Polish, French, Russian animator Ladislas Stervich. He was a pioneer in stop motion animation. He made one of I believe, Tale of the Fox was the first stop motion feature film, right?
It would have been the first animated feature film, but sound issues.
Yeah, it would have been the first animated feature film. It would have beat out Disney, but it took a long time to complete. But it was the first stop motion feature film, as far as I know. Well, I guess there was Lottie Reiniger and stuff, but anyway.
3D puppet, but also the detailing in his puppets are like so different from what was around at the time.
Yeah. Obviously, Aaron can explain this shit better than I can, but Sterowich is a great filmmaker. He had a wonderful imagination. He used all kinds of crazy puppets and things. He was known for using bugs. One of his most famous shorts is The Cameraman's Revenge, which is a story of infidelity in the insect kingdom. A lot of his stuff is public domain. You can find it on YouTube or on Archive. I highly recommend checking him out. But unfortunately, his stuff's kind of hard to find, which is why one of these DVDs we had to import from France. And I don't even know if his stuff is available in the public on Blu-ray. But yeah, so we've got to hang on to these, and Aaron's going to rip them at some point. So, but we've had these for ages. So, do you want to come down and explain this one, Aaron? It's probably better to have you here, at least for this last bit, because you can talk more about this stuff. So, do you want to explain this?
Noise Trash by the Fucking Bastards. The Fucking Bastards are a noise band. If you haven't looked up noise music, there's a whole rabbit hole on YouTube for you to explore. This is basically a collection of live shows of them playing animations they made, just kind of sort of random, like the aesthetics of the artwork. It's a very chaotic DVD. There's a lot of loud noise.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of get that just from the cover.
You can... Yeah, all their videos are available on YouTube. If you want to, you can go and find them.
If you're into that,
they're basically to simplify it. They were like a noise collective.
They're
from
Dutch,
the art
right?
group, Die Honden Coexist Fabri.
They're Dutch.
If I said
right?
that right, they're Dutch. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I mentioned that you speak a little bit of Dutch.
Yeah, I used to.
Do you want to just talk about the rest of these since
I'll
you're here?
talk about the DVDs. Yeah. Reflections of Evil. I love this film. This is a 2.5-hour epic by Damon Packard, depending on the cut you get.
Yeah.
There's 3-hour cuts.
This is the 5th anniversary 2-disc edition. We bought this from Brutalo, right?
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, Brutalo.
It's kind of hard to see, but it's a very. How would you describe it? It's very strange.
Yeah, it's. I don't know how you would explain it. It's this.
It's like
It's this rather large man with a sucrose intolerance, slowly dying of sugar poisoning as he wanders through LA.
Yeah, and
it's about the chaos of LA. The sort of the there's a lot of screaming, shouting. There's a lot of fighting, blood and violence, but it's not necessarily like done in a serious way. It's very comical.
It's very like hallucinatory and like cartoonish and weird, and
it's a slow burn of a movie, but it is. I enjoy it.
Yeah,
and then there's this thing later on in the film with like his sister was part of a cult and she died at a theme park.
She like overdosed or something on there's PCP or something.
Yeah, and then there's like there's like a flashback to where Steven Spielberg's directing one of his early films and someone dies being electrocuted. It's so chaotic. I love it.
It's a very strange art film, but it's very interesting. Oh, and the Jim Ether collection.
Oh, Jim Ether.
So this is Alert, and Onward to Calgary, both directed by Jim Ether. So if you want to talk about those.
So Jim Ether, some of you used to be around on the Friends Society, or the Fox Society as it used to be called. If you've been around on Newgrounds, you should know who Jim Ether is. Very influential to me growing up, musically and animation-wise. Again, there's a theme with all my stuff. It's very chaotic.
Yeah.
But I love the chaos. So Alert is a... Would you call it a feature film? Some people call it a feature film.
It's like a series of music videos, I guess.
Yeah, it's a collection
of music videos.
Animated music videos for Jim Ether's music. If you haven't heard Jim Ether's music, it'd be IDM-esque.
Yeah. And I believe Alert, at least, I know, is free to watch online, right?
Yeah, you can find Alert on YouTube now. I'm happy. This is your DVD.
Yeah, but
mine from England, I lost it.
Yeah.
I had an incident in the UK where someone broke into my house and stole a load of my shit.
Yeah.
So a lot of my stuff's missing, but luckily you had it too.
Yeah, and then
Onward to Calgary. Jim Ether had a series.
Poem Time.
Yeah, Poem Time, that's it. Where Jim Ether played a poet on public TV, would it be?
Yeah, public access.
Which was co-hosted by Timmy Tomato. Not that Timmy Tomato.
Timmy the Tomato.
Timmy the Tomato, a little puppet tomato. And the basic gist of that film is Timmy gets a love letter from someone in Calgary.
Yeah, Calgary, Canada.
And they decide to make it a road trip. And I'm not going to spoil it because there's actually that big twist at the end with Jim. But yeah, it's pretty interesting.
It's very chaotic. It's very strange. But it's very imaginative. And
if you want to see that film, go to Perisarc.com.
Yeah,
you'll put a link
you can find all these. Yeah, I'll link all this stuff in the description.
What's left? In fact, this is you both.
I think this is the last. I think this is the last thing I have to show.
I don't think you care about these.
Yeah. So speaking of Jim Ether.
Oh yeah, he made a comic.
Yeah. So this is a. I think I actually. This was a Kickstarter campaign. This is Creepo, right?
Yeah.
Let me get it out of the packaging. Yeah, this is Creepo by Jim Ether. This is a graphic novel that he funded on Kickstarter. I contributed to it a long time ago. His art style is very cartoony. How would you describe it? But yeah, that sort of gives you an idea.
Mad Comics.
Yeah, he was very influenced by that, wasn't he? And like Garbage Pail Kids and stuff.
Yeah.
So it kind of has that vibe. But yeah. So. He's a really interesting guy. Like I said, I'll link to his stuff in the description, so I recommend checking him out. Oh, and this also came with...
he made a batch of trading cards based on food.
He made a batch of trading cards that he called Food People, and he put 2 of them in my bag when he sent it to me. Again, you can see the influence in Garbage Pail Kids, but there's Baron Von Bite Size, which is like a chicken nugget, a processing plant, top hat, and there's Robert Seedy. He's like a watermelon guy vomiting seeds into a little girl. So, he's a really interesting guy. I like his stuff a lot. Oh, and there's writing on the back of these. So Robert Seedy says, watermelons are a favorite on hot summer days. Who doesn't love a big, juicy piece of watermelon while picnicking with friends and family? I'll tell you who. Me. I don't like watermelon one bit. How can 1 gabillion seeds fit inside something so small? They are heavy, too. Word on the street is that watermelons are good for you, though. They're chock full of vitamin C and antioxidants. I eat it once a year, and maybe one of these days I'll start to like it. Maybe. So... Again, that sort of gives you an idea of like what his sort of style and sense of humor is like. And on the back of Baron von Bitesize, it says, "Fun chicken nugget facts. In 1950, an industrious young man named Randolph Higgins discovered an exciting new method to trick people into eating deep-fried congealed sawdust. Using a mixture of flour, water, and horse gelatin, Randolph created chicken nuggets. With recycling becoming a global issue in the past 2 decades, the chicken nugget recipe has been changed to turn the old newspapers of today into the uniformly shaped and dippable treats of tomorrow. Chicken nuggets taste good and are fun to eat, but like sausages, you probably don't want to know how they're made." So yeah, like I said, interesting guy. You should check his stuff out. I'll link all that in the description. But I think that's it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this excursion through some of Aaron's books and comics and DVDs. So do you have anything you want to say before we leave, Aaron?
No, I will read them eventually.
Yeah, you should. You don't read enough. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I will talk to you again later. Bye.